My entitled stepdad took away my door to my room in the house, claiming that I deserved this kind of treatment and replaced it with a curtain. So I ended up getting revenge by taking away his door and doing the exact same thing to his room. Here's what happened. So my parents split up when I was 12 years old as a result of my mom's infidelity. I was definitely on my dad's side. However, my mom's house was closer to my school, so I had to stick with it. I would see my dad on weekends, but they both agreed I had to stay with my mom in the school week. My mom met this guy by the name of Henry a couple of years ago and they got married. Henry is not his real name. I think their relationship is really gross. He's 15 years older than her and he makes my mom happy, so I can't really do anything about it. But he has made my life a living nightmare. There's no mutual respect between us and I keep out of his way and he keeps out of mine. I think he has OCD or something like that because everything has to be clean and out of sight all of the time. If I leave any pans after I cook on the side because I'm eating my hot food and intend to wash them right afterwards, I have to stop eating and clean them and then my dinner goes cold. If I leave a book in the living room, I have to immediately put it away. If I make a cup of tea, I have to wipe down the surface. I don't spill the sugar, I don't spill any milk, but the surface was technically used, so it needs to be cleaned. God forbid the house doesn't look like a showroom. My mom follows his rules, but I hate them. I'm not even untidy. I just don't want to clean things when they don't need to be. My room had a door, so I left any books or paper out after studying, or like an empty mug, and he couldn't see them, so it wasn't a problem. That is, until he knocked on my door one time and started making me clean my room when it's not even messy, and would inspect it and make me do it again even if he didn't like it. Last weekend, he decided to replace my door with a curtain so he could just pull it and see if there was any mess. He said I deserved it for being so unclean. So today, I got a friend of mine to swing by and we unscrewed my parents' door and put up a curtain while they were away grocery shopping. He helped me lift my bed, which is where I'm keeping the door. As I expected, the room was bare. Everything was behind closet doors, so I figured that if I don't have a door as an adult, neither should they. My stepdad then went mental, demanding me to reinstall the door, but I refused. I said that if I can't have one, neither can he. So now I have no curtain. I don't mind, I just stand by the wall to change, and they haven't grounded me or taken anything too important since my dad buys me things. My dad caught wind of what I did, and while he thought it was funny, he said that it was their house, so I need to give them the door back. What should I do? First off, this Henry guy sounds like an absolute control freak, and he really does sound like a major weirdo. Like personally, I don't think it's that important to clean everything at the drop of a hat. And I mean like right away, like right after you're done using it. That's honestly obnoxious, and this guy sounds incredibly weird in that regard. Also, it was incredibly rude for him to take away your door like that. That is a messed up thing to do, and that's really creepy. There is literally no excuse for that, especially since you are an adult. The original poster is 18 years old. This also kind of makes me think, like, why are you still at that house in the first place? You're clearly on your dad's side and you're now an adult, so you really can't decide where you do and don't want to live. So I'm personally surprised that you haven't made the steps necessary to go ahead and push for moving in with your dad. I mean, if I was in your shoes, that's what I would definitely do. That's just me. So while personally, I probably wouldn't have stolen this guy's door, and I probably would have gone a different route of getting out of that house, I think the fact that you did send a very clear message that this guy's a weirdo and you're absolutely not going to be treated that way. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Am I the jerk for not letting my friends move into my house? Here's what happened. So I'm a 20-year-old female, and I had a rather difficult upbringing. I had a single mom, an absent father, and I lived below the poverty line, so most of my life was absolute garbage. When my uncle on my dad's side found out that I existed last year, he purchased a house for me in the city that I live in to essentially make up for my dad being a piece of garbage. I also live in Ireland, where there's a major housing crisis going on. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, but I turned the living room into my bedroom, mostly because I'm lazy and I don't want to go up and down stairs all the time. I'm really proud of how I've decorated it. I've kept it clean and I've managed all the bills by myself for the last year. I'm also grateful that I won't have to struggle to find affordable rent like a lot of my friends have to do. The issue I'm having is that 4 of my friends, 2 couples, are currently being evicted from their house before the year is out and are struggling to find places to rent. I love these 4 people more than anything, but they are sloppy and they have a tendency to host after parties and stuff like that. Their current house has bottles and cans everywhere, dishes are never cleaned, and they somehow have a slug problem. I let a 5th friend who was having some serious financial trouble move in with me because she needed the help and she's cleaner and much calmer. The 4 friends being evicted caught wind of all of this, and knowing I do technically have 2 free bedrooms, asked if they could move in as well when their lease is up. I said to them no, because I do not want 6 people living in my house, especially people who are not properly house trained and will absolutely disrupt my current lifestyle. I don't want to have my space invaded so much because honestly it's mine and I want to keep it mine. I told them I won't let them move in with me unless they actually end up sleeping on the streets, and even then I would have my reservations. The 4 friends think that I'm being a jerk, but I don't think I am because it's my house and I decide who gets to live here. They're all not talking to me now, and I'm now honestly not sure what to do. First off, you are not the jerk. You know exactly how these people live, and it's smart of you to say, you know what, you're not gonna live in my house. They put bottles everywhere, they never clean up after themselves, and they have pest problems that they obviously don't want to resolve. Like, why on earth would anybody want to deal with that in your home? I think it's very kind of you to let that 5th friend move in with you, but you said it yourself. They clean up after themselves and they respect your property. Can you imagine letting all 4 of those friends in and then suddenly they just completely destroy your place? Then you would have to evict them and then they would really hate you. So honestly, you're not the jerk in this situation, because if I had friends who were this messy and who were this notorious for just destroying properties, there's no way I would let them move into my house. Am I the jerk for getting upset with my roommate after they allowed a homeless man to sleep in my bed? Here's what happened. So I'm a 24-year-old female and I live with my housemate by the name of Sarah. Sarah is not her real name. Sarah and I aren't very close, and we will only talk if I run into her in our shared spaces, including our living rooms and the kitchen. Sarah told me a while back that she befriended a homeless man by the name of John. John is also not his real name. She used to give him spare change and started to cook for him, just so he would have something to eat. And you know what? That is completely her business. However, last month, she gave him our address and told him that he can stop by whenever he wants to pick up food. And she also didn't tell me this until I found out as he was ringing the doorbell, which has a camera that alerts your phone if someone comes over. Now, I don't normally check as I am at work most days, and most alerts are just someone walking by. I am only in the house to sleep or on my days off. Sarah knows that if I have 2 or more days off, I usually just go see my parents who live in the same city, but it is a long commute, so it's not feasible every day. I had a parcel coming last week, so I did check the phone alert and I saw John at our door. She has shown me pictures of him, so I knew it was him, and I was angry she had given our location to a stranger. I confronted her over this as I felt that this was unsafe, and it made me incredibly uncomfortable that he knows our address. She told me that he's only there to eat food and stays in the kitchen. Sarah argued that I have friends over all the time too, and that I'm judging him for being homeless. I just let it go, but told her that I don't want him to be anywhere near my room. Well, I went home for 3 days, and I usually go straight from my parents to work, but I came last night around 11 o'clock p.m. as I was scheduled to come in a lot earlier for work. Well, wouldn't you guess it, I found John was sleeping in my bed. We have a single bed each, and I screamed, waking up John and Sarah. I told him if he didn't get out right now, I would call the police for trespassing. John left, and somehow Sarah is now angry at me and will not speak to me. So honestly, I need to know, am I the jerk for being upset with my housemate for allowing a homeless man to sleep in my bed? This is honestly crazy to me. Your roommate is an absolute piece of garbage. Like seriously, she let some stranger sleep in your bed. Like if she really wanted this guy to get someplace to sleep, she should have been like, oh, don't sleep in my roommate's bed. That would be obnoxious and rude. Sleep in my bed instead, and I'll sleep on the couch. Or something like that. What in the world was she thinking? I would be so angry if I found another person I didn't know literally sleeping in my bed. Homeless man or not. It could be anybody and I would still be so upset. So no, you are not the jerk. If I was in your shoes, I would be going straight to the landlord. There is no way I would let this slide. This is such an obvious disrespect of your boundaries, as well as your right to privacy. Like, you don't know this guy. What if you started bringing somebody home and said, oh, don't worry, just sleep in Sarah's bed. She'll be fine with it. Like, no, are you kidding me? That's insane to me. So hopefully you're able to get out of there, or at least put a deadbolt on your door, because what Sarah seriously just did was insane. And you absolutely do not deserve to live in that kind of environment. Am I the jerk for refusing to take down my doorbell camera just to make my new neighbors feel more comfortable? Here's what happened. So to start things out, I live in an urban US city in a neighborhood that is somewhat notorious for being a seedy part of town. When I first moved to this city, I couldn't afford to live in one of the safer neighborhoods. So I found an apartment building that seemingly offered a lot of security, but was in a more affordable neighborhood. It didn't take long for me to realize that our building's security is mostly a joke. I can't go into specifics about what has happened since I moved in without this post getting flagged for a rule violation, but I will say that multiple people have passed away in this building. My partner and I have already decided to move out of the city because I'm currently pregnant with our first child, and we want to live somewhere more family friendly, and right now we are currently 8 days from moving day. In the meantime, we installed a Ring doorbell camera to the front of our apartment door, and this was all to reduce the risk of being targeted for a break-in or a push-in. We've had it up for a couple of months now, and overall haven't had any issues. Well, that is until now. Yesterday, new tenants moved into the apartment directly across from ours. Within an hour or two of moving into their unit, they knocked on our front door and told us to take down our doorbell camera. They argue that because their front door is in the frame, the camera is an invasion of their privacy. I immediately refused and told them that given the high crime in this neighborhood and building, we would be leaving it up for our own safety. I told them about the different incidents that have happened just since I moved in, but they honestly didn't care. I mentioned that one of the reasons we had it was so we could turn the footage over to the police if anything were to happen to our unit or within view of our camera, and they became even more insistent that we take it down. Again, I refused, and they said that they would follow up with the property manager. I talked about it with my partner, and he is in agreement that we're not taking it down, but I also spoke to a friend of mine who lives in the building, and she pointed out that since we're moving out in a week, I should have just taken it down to avoid argument. I'm going to have to take it down anyways when we move out, so what difference would a few days make? But because I refused to take it down and argue with them about it, I've now potentially left them with a negative impression of their neighbors, which isn't fair to the rest of the building since we're only going to be their neighbors for another week. I felt good about my decision to keep it up after talking about it with my partner, but after talking to my friend in the building, I'm having some doubts. Maybe I should just take it down early to avoid any unnecessary drama this close to us moving out, but I also have to think about my family's safety above everyone else. So am I the jerk for refusing to take down my doorbell camera just to make my new neighbors comfortable? As someone who has lived in seedy areas, no, you are not the jerk. First off, your friend's an idiot. They don't know what they're talking about. If they really think you having a camera up is gonna make them look bad, well, guess what? You live in a crappy apartment complex. People have passed away here, and from the sounds of it, it seems like a lot of sketchy stuff happens already. So for them to be like, oh man, your camera's making us all look bad. Well, guess what, genius? This entire apartment complex makes us all look bad. Like, why do they have such loyalty to such a sketchy area? I mean, wouldn't you want to try and move out of this apartment complex? Because from the sounds of it, this place sucks, and it sounds like people could break in or push your door in just to try and rob you blind. And why would your neighbor come over and be like, oh, you need to take the doorbell camera down? Like, what do they clearly not want on camera that they're obviously gonna try to do? It sounds like they might be some of the sketchy people moving in who don't want a live recording of said sketchy stuff they're gonna try and pull off at their house. So personally, if I was in your shoes, there's no way I would take that camera down. Not only am I gonna keep it there throughout the entirety of my move, but once everything's out of my apartment, and I mean everything, only then will I step up and say, okay, now I'm gonna take this down. Because in my opinion, you've gotta think about yourself and your family first. And if people seriously don't like it, well, then they're just gonna have to deal with it. Today, I'm gonna break up with my boyfriend because his mother was stealing my clothing on top of several other sketchy things, which has honestly all been the last straw in this relationship. Here's what happened. I'm a 26-year-old female and I live with my boyfriend who's 27 years old, and we live in the same town as his mother. We've been living together for almost a year and our lease is up next month. And for me, I am absolutely not going to resign. From the very get-go, this whole living situation has been nothing less than horrific, and I cannot wait to get out of this nightmare. My boyfriend and his mother are very codependent. The first couple of months were littered with surprise visits, as well as calls and FaceTimes all around the clock. She is a very dominant human being. And then at the midpoint of us living there, he gave her a key to the house. I work from home, but my boyfriend has to go in office, so I was always home alone with her whenever she decided to make herself at home. I have to spend time during work hosting her, and it's honestly tiring when it's so often and the apartment is so small. She comes to clean our apartment, make us dinner, pack lunches, as well as do my laundry. Yes, you heard me correctly, my laundry. I don't want anyone seeing my underwear, but maybe that's just me. Sometimes she'll come over just to read or watch television and then wait for my boyfriend to come home. I was until late, teetering on the edge of saying, well, should I just end this? Should I break up with him and move on? But this recent event is my last straw. For months, I have noticed that some of my favorite clothes go missing and then reappear in my closet. I never thought too much on it since I'd always find them again, but I now know where they've been going. His mother changed her profile photo on Facebook, and lo and behold, she's wearing my jacket. How do I know this? Well, I made the jacket by hand. When I brought this up to him, he told me it wasn't a big deal. It's his mom, so I can trust her with my stuff. When I tried bringing it up to his mother, she absolutely gaslit me. She said she always asked to borrow my stuff, and that maybe I just wasn't paying attention to her when she asked me. I am now officially fed up. I will not live my life consumed with her constant presence, and I will not marry a man who basically still breastfeeds. When he comes home from work today, I'm ending things, and I already know that I'm dodging getting hit by the biggest train of my life. Wow, what an insane situation. Here you are just trying to live your life and, I don't know, work for a living, and this lady's coming into your house after your stupid boyfriend gave her a key to your place. Like, seriously, the apartment is already small enough. The last thing you need is having this lady bouncing around all day, every day, bothering you and waiting for your boyfriend constantly. Like, what is wrong with your boyfriend? Is he seriously that delusional that he doesn't see that this is really inappropriate? Like, what she's doing is really just putting everybody out? And not to mention the fact that she stole a handmade jacket that you made. This is your creation, and this lady's walking around like, oh, I asked you to borrow this. Like, no, you didn't. You straight up stole it from me. This is probably why she's doing your laundry as well. She saw all your beautiful clothing and she thought to herself, oh, I could take some of this. Like, what a psychopath. What is wrong with this lady? I can't imagine living in this kind of situation. This honestly must have been miserable. And it really didn't need to be like this from the beginning. Your boyfriend is 27 years old. He seriously doesn't want some kind of space from his weird mother. Honestly, I hope this all goes well for you. This sounds incredibly obnoxious, and seriously, you deserve much better out of a relationship than a boyfriend who is very clearly still attached to his mother's hip. Am I the jerk for eating rabbit meat near my friend, as well as allegedly forcing her to be near it after her pet rabbit passed away recently? Here's what happened. So to start things out, my friends and I had a day out at the beach on a Saturday. We each brought our own lunch plus barbecue stuff for dinner, as well as snacks to share throughout the day. The problem central to my posting this was my lunch. I brought over leftover rabbit curry and rice, and in my cuisine, we either grill rabbit meat or make it into a curry. One of my friends said it looks very good and asked for a taste. I told her it was rabbit, and she said that she didn't want it anymore. After she said that, one of the other girls said that she'd like to taste some because she's never had rabbit before, so I gave her some and she really liked it. But my friend started saying she was taken aback by the rabbit meat because she lost her pet rabbit recently, so she wasn't mentally prepared to face someone eating it. She was also upset that I was passing it around, even though I only gave it to one person that wanted it, like it's some sort of delicacy, when the rabbit could have been someone's pet, even though it definitely wasn't. I said I've been eating rabbit ever since I was a kid, and it's quite a normal dish from where I'm from. It's not a delicacy in the slightest. We eventually moved past the topic, but the mood was still a bit off. She only spoke one-liners to me for the rest of the day. I messaged her yesterday, and she said that she's upset with me because I doubled down and said rabbit is a normal thing to eat instead of sympathizing with her. I really just think she's upset about her rabbit passing away, but I don't want to act like I did something horrible when I absolutely didn't. So honestly, am I the jerk for eating rabbit meat at a friend outing, all because my friend had their pet rabbit pass away recently? What should I do? No, you are not the jerk in this situation. She's upset about her pet passing away, but what she said was pretty ridiculous. Like, no, that rabbit was not anybody's pet. It was meant for food, and you didn't bring it to this friend outing on purpose just to pass it around to your friends. Like, she seriously was not rubbing anything in this person's face, and they were just being ridiculous. Like, if I had a pet chicken and someone started eating chicken, I wouldn't be like, wow, I had a pet chicken, how could you do this to me? Like, no, clearly I'm just grieving the loss of my animal, and what you're eating for lunch has nothing to do with my problems. And the same goes for you. Your friend is being an absolute weirdo, and this has nothing to do with you. Like, think about her reaction here. Instead of dropping this like a rational human being, she decided to double down and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you wouldn't sympathize with me. Basically trying to guilt trip this person for eating food. Like, seriously, get a grip. The rabbit you were eating was not this person's pet, and it's incredibly weird and toxic for her to be like, oh my gosh, I lost a pet rabbit, and now you're eating a rabbit at our lunch. This must be the same thing. Like, no, this is not the same thing, and the way you're acting right now is really cringy and honestly just embarrassing. embarrassing. So I would not worry about this person in the slightest. She's being a weirdo for trying to guilt trip you in this regard. And honestly, if there's anybody in this situation who has a problem going on in their life, it's the lady who's guilt tripping people for eating lunch. And it definitely is not you in the slightest. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out in the description below and subscribe.